I've been accused of that before. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. I especially thank you for convening on short notice at an inconvenient time. You should have received, everyone but Commissioner Senega, a copy of the memo that I sent that gives a background on the public educational government grant program and funding. I'll rehash that only quickly to say that as part of the franchise that the cities of Eugene and Springfield and Lane County share with Comcast. Comcast makes a payment of $100,000 a year, $50,000 of which goes to support Metro TV, and the other $50,000 has been set aside by the Commission for grants to support public educational and government channels. This is a fairly common practice around the country. The memo covers this year's grants. We've received the payments from Comcast, and we received applications from 3 channels for grants from the grant program. The grant program funds will fund and pay for equipment for hard equipment that is needed to produce content to be broadcast on the cable network for public educational and governmental purposes. LCOG, on behalf of the agencies, after making the grants, the equipment that is purchased, LCOG retains an ownership interest in that, so that if that equipment is later not used, or if one of the grantees were to cease using it, then that would come back to LCOG to be redistributed. Anyway, the memo also covers the process that we used this year for soliciting grants, which was pretty much the same thing we've done for several years. And it contains recommendations for grants to the 3 proposed grantees. And that is we received applications from the Coalition to Rebuild Community Television, generally referred to as CTV, for the Eugene Springfield Fire Training Channel from ES Fire, and for the Education Channel, Channel 23. And a summary of the amounts requested is contained in the memo. CTV has asked for $9,700, Eugene Springfield Fire for $8,700, and Channel 23 for $37,200. That's a total of $55,600. We receive $50,000 into this fund each year, but typically the grants average less than $50,000, and so the balance is rolled over into the fund for the next year, and we have considerably more money we have ample money for the proposed grants this year. These have been reviewed by Neil Moyer and also by the representatives from each of the jurisdictions from the county and each of the 2 cities, and everyone's recommended funding them at the requested levels. So that's the background. So LCOG staff recommends approval of a $9,700 grant to Eugene Springfield Fire, $8,700 for the Coalition to Rebuild Community Television, and $37,200 for Channel 23. If you agree with these recommendations, a motion I move to approve that 2025 PEG grants and the amounts recommended by staff would be appropriate. And
I have a motion.
I'm open for any questions you may have regarding this.
First, before I get to you, Paul, do we have a motion and a second to approve this?
I move as stated by Jim Chaney.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Open for discussion, and we'll start with Paul.
Sorry to interrupt your discussion, but Jim, I just heard, and unfortunately, I just noticed in your memo that the requested amounts for CTV and Eugene Springfield Fire are different in two different places in the memo. On the top of page 2, you have 9,700 for CTV and 8,700 for Eugene Springfield Fire, and in the middle of page 2, those numbers are reversed.
Oh,
I want to make sure the motion had the correct amounts.
yes, I apologize for that, and I will look up the actual application here real quickly. And
It's 8,700 for Eugene Springfield Fire.
Yes, that is in the application at 87 for Eugene Springfield Fire and 97 for CTV, just so we have the correct amounts attached to the motion. Thank you.
Are the makers in the second concur with that?
I'm in concurrence. Thank you.
But I think there's one more switch too. I believe the CTV and the educational channels numbers were reversed because CTV is asking for the 37 amount. Educational channel is the lesser amount.
I apologize for getting the numbers wrong.
Same question again back to the maker and the second.
I wonder if we could restate the motion as amended, please.
Paul, can you help us out on that?
I think Jim is working on it.
Oh, Jim. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes, please, Jim.
Yes, I'm verifying. I'm looking at the individual applications now since I made that mistake. I want to verify the amounts. Yes, the $37,200 was requested by CTV, and the $8,700 by Eugene Springfield Fire.
And how about the cable commission? Or I'm sorry, what was the third request?
The third request is Channel 23.
That's it. Okay.
And Channel 23's was $9,700. Yes.
Then that is my motion with the numbers that Jim Chaney just stated. Thank you, Mr. Chaney. And for the record, make a note of this date, because that is the first time I've known Jim Chaney a long time, and I've never seen you make a mistake before, and I really mean that.
Wish I had that kind of record.
I do apologize for that.
Not necessary, Jim.
And the second, you're okay with this?
Second it.
Okay, very good. It's been moved and seconded. Since there's only 4 of us, all in favor, could you signify by raising your hand, please? Okay, I see unanimous approval by the 4 in attendance. The motion has passed.
Well,
Paul, is there anything else to come before the Cable Commission?
No, Chair, that is all.
Unless there's anything else from the members to come before us, I'm not seeing any hands raised. We are adjourned, and have a very safe and happy 4th of July. And make sure you have all your fingers on Monday.
Jim, the barbecue's at my house at noon tomorrow. So